So good evening. Good evening. I'm welcoming you to the live class for November 2018 diet. In this particular live class, I'll be giving you some tips on how to pass your quantitative techniques in business. So from there, you're able to know how you can approach most of the question in your examination as regard the quantitative techniques in business. So before I proceed, I would like to give you some certain tips on how to pass your quantitative techniques in business. But before that, I will likely to advise you on some certain things. So that particular thing, we call it what? The home front. Look at the home front. Look at the home front. We call it home front, or we call it what? Home assignment. Home front, or we call it what? Home assignment. So if you are just joining us on this particular live class based on the quantitative techniques in business for November 2018 diet, please kindly indicate yes or high response, and also indicate your location, please. And please, whenever you are joining us, please indicate this, indicate yes response or high response, or and also include your location. So thank you for that, and don't forget to click the share button so that you can have a copy of your own. So let's look at the home front that I'm trying to point out on part of the advice on the quantitative techniques in business. So the home front, we are talking about the home assignment. Home assignment. So have you done your assignment at home? Are you ready for the exam? Are you ready for the exam? What I'm trying to say is that have you all your docket, are they intact? Your calculator, your ruler, your pencil, your pen, all these things supposed to be intact. You need to make it available a day before the examination. Don't say in that day of examination now started be looking for calculator, started be looking for your docket. So all these things are not advisable. They can easily discourage you before you go to the examination, and that thing can easily affect you in the examination hall. So all your material that you need for the examination, you must make it available a day before going to the examination. And mind you, the day you are having the examination, why can't you check it, cross check all those things, whether all those material are intact, so that you're able to know the one that's left out. So don't mistakenly, whenever you are doing exam, a day you are doing exam, kindly check all those things in the morning before going to your examination hall. So that is the home front I'm trying to point out. And second thing you need to notice, when you want to do the examination, you need to build your self-confidence. You need to build your self-confidence. It is very, very vital for you to build your self-confidence, because some people, due to the fact that maybe they are unable to cover some syllables or other things, so they will lose that confidence will not be there. So why can't you build the confidence? Build it, whether you are able to cover the syllables or you are not able to cover the syllables. The question normally say that you should attempt the question. Attempt the question is to attempt. So anyone once you reach a particular examination hall and you are unable to do a particular question, why can't you attempt? Just give it a try. Just attempt the question. So it's very, very important. You can do that. Self-confidence. You need to build your self-confidence. Don't be distracted. Don't be discouraged that you cannot pass the examination. Have self-confidence in dealing with the examination. That is another vital point that you need to notice in your examination. So apart from that, we look at your method of approach. Look at your method of approach. What do I mean by the method of approach? That is, in a given examination, you'll be given a time frame. And to me, to my own best knowledge, in ICANN examination, you are given 3 hours to do the paper. So out of this particular 3 hours, if you calculate it in time of minutes, that you are having 3 multiplied by 60 minutes. That you are having 180 minutes in total. You are having 180 minutes in total. So how many marks allocated to the paper itself? We have 100 marks allocated to the paper. So why can't you divide the 180 minutes divided by the 100 marks? That give you 1.8 minutes. So that's 1.8 minutes you are expected to spend it on each mark. assuming you are given maybe 20 mark on a question, that means you are going to multiply it by what 1.8. That give you a total of 36 minutes that you are spending on that particular question. So what I'm trying to say is that in your examination, especially in the ICANN examination, you are given 3 hours. You are given 3 hours to do the paper. So after in 3 hours that you are having, what that is 3 multiplied by 60 to get to convert it to minutes. That will be 180 minutes. 180 minutes for all the work, for all the paper. So out of 180 minutes, so how many marks for the work for the paper? That is 100 marks. 100 marks for the paper. So that's now divided with 180 divided by 180 divided by 100. That gives us what 1.8 minutes. That means you are spending what 1.8 minutes on each what mark. So assuming you are given on 20 marks on a given question, let's assume question 2, you are given a total of 20 marks in question 2. That means you are spending what, that will be 20 multiplied by 1.8 minutes. That will give us what 36 minutes. So you are spending 36 minutes on that particular paper. So whenever you are doing the that question and you have already exceeded 36 minutes, why can't you leave the paper and go for the work for another question entirely? Because the time is not on your side, so you need to leave that particular question and move to the others after exhausting what the minute allocated to the paper. So that is that for the another advice on that method of approach. So another method of approach that I would likely to ship in is we call it what, going for the easy question first before going for the difficult question. So in any ICANN examination, especially professional skill and foundation level courses, that question number 1 of each paper normally carry weight, as in normally 12. So why can't you leave that question number 1 at the beginning of your, or at the beginning when you are starting to do the work, to do the question? So why can't you leave that question number 1 and look at what the other question, look at the simplest one first, so solve all those easy ones. So after solving the easy one, then you now come back to the work, to the one that's giving you more challenges in it. So question 1, to me, or to my own best knowledge, I don't advise students to go for it at the first question to be solved, because if you are unable to grasp what they are trying to pass in that question number 1, you may be carried away and you may be frustrated, you may be discouraged. So why can't you go for the least one, the one that is not challenging enough, or the easy one? So go for that one first. So after you are through with that one, then you can now easily move to the difficult one or the challenging one. So all the questions are also are simple, but the only thing that the method of approach can be different from another. So my own advice for you is that whenever you are doing that kind of examination, you should first of all ignore that question number 1 and question number 2, or possibly question number 2. So go for the easiest one, maybe question number 3, question number 4, 5, 6, 7. So go and look for all those ones and easily solve it. So when you are through with that, you can easily go to question number 1. Don't look at the marks allocated to the paper, because question number 1 normally carry maybe 30 marks, that which carry most of the mark in the paper. So don't look at the mark initially. So just go for the easiest one. Then after that, they now go for the difficult one. That is another advice I'll be giving to you on that method of approach. Or another one I'll be giving to you is that whenever you are in an examination hall, always avoid side distraction. No matter how the question is simple or the question is hard, you'll be seeing a lot of students with their grammar, all those things. You'll be a side distraction is possible in an examination hall. So when you are facing that kind of challenging, one thing you can do is that you don't need to look at those things. And when you know that you don't know a particular question, you don't need to ask anybody, because once you are caught, that is another story entirely. So it is better you do the one that you know and leave the rest for the God to judge it. And by the grace of Almighty God, you are going to have a wonderful and a successful in your outcome of your examination. And another one I'm going to tell you is about what when you are through with your paper. When you are through with your paper, the best thing you can do is that you should review, you should look at it in a deep form. Look at all what you have done so far. You may have some undone job or undone question there. Write down to complete it. Look at everything from the beginning to the end. So if there's a need for correction, write down to correct it. So when you are through with that, then you can able to submit your paper easily and honorably, instead of what looking for another shortcut. Maybe you'll be asking student, you ask another person to assist you, all those things. So if you are caught in that kind of scenario, that definitely you are going to bear the cost. So that is my own advice based on the on the home front. So then I'll be giving you tips on how to pass your examination, especially the quantitative techniques in business, which serve as our subject of the matter of the day. I developed 8 tips so that you can easily go look at it, go through it, digest it, and also bring about you can make use of that tips, so that you'll be able to have easy outcome on the quantitative techniques in business. So the first one I'm going to introduce to you as one of the tips to pass the quantitative techniques in business, what we call number one. We call it what? You need to register. You need to download the latest version of our comprehensive video lecture. You need to register and download the latest version of our comprehensive video lecture. What I'm trying to analyze on that is that you need to request for the latest version, not the old version, latest version, so that you'll be updating on that particular course entirely. So you'll be able to have the latest version and the updating one on that particular video lecture of that course. And secondly, you need to look at all those versions, all those comprehensive video lectures, so that you're able to have more knowledge, more comprehensive knowledge on the paper itself. So it's very better for you to get it. So that is the first tip I'm going to introduce to you. Let's move on to the next tip, which is what you need to watch our video lecture for each course for at least 3 times. You need to watch our video lecture. What I mean by you need to watch the video lecture is that if you are able to grasp what the video lecture is trying to pass to you for at least 2 times, then you're able to get the method of approach in dealing with quantitative techniques in business. So you need to go through it just for at least 2 times. Go through the chapters, go through the parts. If you are able to go through the chapter and through the parts, you're able to know what is happening based on the quantitative techniques. You know that we have different topic under the word quantitative techniques in business. So if you are able to go through the video lecture, you watch it at least 2 times, both the chapters and the parts, so you're able to know what they are trying to pass on the courses itself. So try to get your own copy by watching it for at least 2 times, which serve as a best way to approach the quantitative techniques in business. So that is second tips on the quantitative techniques and the tips to pass the quantitative techniques in business. So let's move on to the next tips, which is what. So next tip is what? Tips 3, we call it attempt question practice, which is vital. Attempt question practice. So we are giving you two points on that. You need to look at both the ICANN pass question and our question and solution on the members area. So the question I'm trying to talk about is what ICANN pass question and our own personal question and solution on the quantitative techniques in business. So the ICANN pass question, you need to look at this right from the word, maybe from 2014 May to up to date, up to that is May 2018. So if you are able to look at the past question, look at how they are able to solve it, look at the method of approach of that particular past question. So you're able to be familiar with all those techniques on how to answer questions on the quantitative techniques. And secondly, if you are able to look at our own question and solution on that quantitative technique in business, so look at the question, look at the solution. If you have any challenge, you can post it to our forum so that the lecturer can easily attend it to you and make it available as soon as possible on how to solve the question. So that is very, very vital one. So you need to go through the past question aspect. You need to go through the past question aspect so that you're able to know how to approach the question and how to get a good solution on the question. So that's another tip I'm trying to pass to you, which is attempt question practice, both the iCampus question and our own question and solution, which will be available in our members area. Once you are able to connect it, then you're able to get the fact on the question and solution on the quantitative techniques in business. So another tip I'm going to introduce to you, that's tip 4. That is tip 4. So this particular tip 4 is based on post any of your challenges question on our forum to other students and lecturers to attend to. Post any of your challenging question. It is possible as a student you may have some certain area of difficulties or certain area that you need clarity on it, so you can easily post it to the forum. If you are able to post it to the forum, so the lecturer and other students will be able to attend to it. So you know that different students have their own different ideology, so they will be able to bring different solution. So the lecturer will also give you a verdict on the question. So if you are able to do that, then definitely you're able to get most of all these difficulties questions solved with ease. So I'm only advising you that you should post any of your challenging questions on the forum so that other students as well as the lecturer can attend to it and give you a proper solution on the question. So that is tip 4. So let's move on to the next tip, which is tip 5. Tip 5. So when you are dealing with any examination based on the quantitative techniques in business, that is QT aspect, what you need to do is that you should please make sure that you get yourself familiar with some certain topic. When you are dealing with QT, you need to familiar with some certain topic. What are the topics that you need to familiar yourself with under the quantitative techniques in business? First and foremost is what is mathematics. You need to be good in mathematics. You know, mathematics has a lot of topic under it. You need to be familiar with it. You need to be good in it, because if you are unable to know mathematics very well for you to pass the statistic or other area of quantitative techniques, will be difficult. So you need to be familiar with anything that relates to the mathematics in terms of relative aspect as well as the calculation aspect. That is another thing you need to know. So you need to familiar yourself with. After the mathematics, then you have what we call a data collection analysis. You need to know this topic very well. Data collection analysis, you know that under that particular one you'll be having all those mean deviations and deviation, that is measurement of dispersion and measurement of central tendency. You need to know details on how to deal with them. All this frequency curve, all those things, polygon, all those, you need to know more details on it before you can say that you are 100% sure that you can easily pass quantitative techniques in business. Another interesting topic you need to know when you are dealing with any examination concerning quantitative techniques in business is what we call a statistics. You need to know more details on the statistics. Is very, very vital when you are dealing with any quantitative techniques business. So after that one, then you need to know what we call an operational research. Operational research, that is another interesting topic that you need to know under the quantitative techniques, operational research. So if you're able to know the first one, which was mathematics, the second one, which was data collection analysis, if you're able to know the statistics and other operational research, definitely you are 100% sure that QT examination is very, very easier for you to pass. So that is tip 5 on what quantitative techniques in business. So let's move on to the next tip, which is tip 6. That is, you need to practice all questions. You need to practice questions. What are the questions that you need to practice on? You need to practice questions based on the review of basic mathematics. You need to know details more on the review of basic mathematics. You need to know how to calculate both addition, both subtraction, both multiplication, and both division. So and other topic that deal with the basic mathematics, you need to know that one. The second area that we need to practice question on is what we call equality and inequality. Equality and inequality. That is another interesting topic on quantitative techniques. You need to know more details and more questions, practice enough questions on the equality and inequality. So that is another thing you need to notice under the quantitative techniques in business. So another interesting topic you need to know is what we call Mathematics of business finance. Mathematics of business finance. That's where we have what we call what we call it what maybe compound interest, principal, all those things, simple interest, annuity, and other aspects of it. You need to know them in a deep form so that you have to know more details on the quantitative techniques. Another interesting one you need to know is what they call element of calculus. When you're talking about calculus, we are talking about two key things. We call it what? Differentiation and integration. You need to know more details on the differentiation and what and correlation as well. So you need to know this is on the data collection. That's another vital aspect you need to notice under the word quantitative techniques, which is you need to know how to collect data, how to analyze data, and how to give decision or any given data. That's another interesting topic you need to know. Another interesting topic is you need to know is what? Measurement of central tendency. Measurement of central tendency. That's where we have all this main media mode and and range. So you need to know all this one. And also we have a measurement of what? Of dispersion, where we have all this mean deviation, standard deviation, range, and others. So you need to know more all those details on the quantitative techniques. And you also know what you call a probability aspect. You need to know all those one as well. And forecasting. Another interesting topic to know is what forecasting. We also have what we call a linear programming. That's another topic you need to practice question more on. And also we have what we call a transportation model, replacement theory, inventory control, simulation, Kiwi model, as well as network analysis. All these topics, they are the topic you need to practice more and more questions on it for you to have a guarantee that quantitative techniques is already gone, is already out of it. So all these topics, they are topic you need to practice on. So let's move on to the tip 7. Tip 7 has to do with practice past questions straight after finishing a particular topic. Whenever you are through with your topic, you need to practice more questions on that topic. If you are able to practice more questions on it, definitely you're able to fire on the quantitative techniques. So let's look at another tips you need to know. That is one of the most vital one. We call it exam technique, which is a crucial aspect. Exam technique. What are the techniques of any given examination? You need to know the techniques of any given examination. What are the techniques? This technique we are talking about can be divided into 3. We have what they call a timing. We have what we call a timing. We have what we call ask the question. Ask, not the question you wanted to be asked. Ask the question, ask, not the question you want to ask. Another tip is what we call 3. We call it clear, concise writing style. So let me quickly explain more on it. The first one we are talking about is what we call timing. That is one of the exam techniques. Timing. How will you be able to time yourself before doing the examination? You're able to know all those things, because if you are unable to time yourself before you starting the examination, at the end of the day you say time is already gone. So that means you are not time conscious. You need to have that time conscious. And the best thing you need to analyze when you are dealing with any given examination is that how many hours given to you in that examination. Based on the ICANN aspect, we have 3 hours allocated. I've already explained to you. You have 3 hours allocated. So how many minutes can you find in 3 hours? You can find that is 3 multiplied by 60. You have a total of 180 minutes. Total of 180 minutes that you are having in your examination. You have 3 hours. 3 hours paper, and you multiply by 60. You give 180 minutes. That you are spending 180 minutes in all the paper. So what you need to do after that one is that how many marks allocated to it? We have 100 marks that's allocated to the question. 100 marks. Out of the 100 marks, then 180 divided by 100. Definitely you are going to have 1.8 minutes. You are having 1.8 minutes to be spent on each mark. So if you are given question, for instance, now you are given question that is maybe the question is 20 marks. So what you need to do there is that you just multiply 20 marks, multiply by 1.8. Definitely you are having 36 marks. So you are spending 36 marks on the question. So once you are attempting the question and you have spent 36 points on the 36 minutes on the question, what you need to do is to leave the question, then go for the others. So if you are unable to manage the time, especially when you are given the particular marks on it, and you are unable to manage the time that you need to allocate to it, definitely at the end of the day you now be complaining that what there's no time to solve all those things. So that means because you are unable to what to manage your time. So that's another thing you need to note under the word examination techniques. So let's move on to the another examination technique that you need to familiarize yourself with, what they call answer the question asked, not the question you wanted to be asked. So what I mean by this word answer the question asked, not the question you wanted to be asked, what I mean by that is that if you are given a requirement that you should do A, for instance, now you are given a requirement to do A, so you don't need to go and do Z. So if you go and do that, definitely you are out of the word, out of the point, you are out of what the marker, the examiner asks you to do. So from there, then you'll be able to work to lose mark. So once you are given a particular requirement, why can't you do that requirement? So even though you want to explain, first of all, look at the requirement. Just put the requirement first out. Just solve the requirement first out. Then you can able to do another one entirely. So once you are given a question, the requirement must be done before you are putting another thing. So don't say because you have knowledge more on that particular topic, then if they ask you to do A, they started doing B, doing C, doing D. So you forgotten that they asked you to do A. So as you are not doing A initially, definitely you can lose mark from it, because most of these marker may not have interest in other thing than the requirement. So once you are able to do anything outside the requirement, you can lose mark from it. So always avoid that. Is very, very important. Answer the question asked, not the question you wanted to be asked. So that is that for the second examination tip. So let's look at what the third examination tip. Here we have what they call a clear. You have what they call a clear. What do they mean by a clear? That means you need to write in a legible form, so that in case maybe they call upon a primary 2 student to read what you write down, definitely that one can easily pronounce it out. So there are some students that do have bad handwriting, so you need to be cautious yourself. Write legibly. Write something. You don't need to write 2 or 3 things together. So you can write it in such a way that they will know that this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. They will know it in a clear form. So don't write everything together. So the reason that for them to read it will be a difficult thing. So always practice. Always look at your writing. Let your writing to be clear enough so that they can easily read what you are trying to pass across. So if you are having bad handwriting, why can't you go and adjust on this? Let your written aspect, let it be clear so that they can easily see. If you want to write 5, don't write 5 like 8. So write it in such a way that if they see it, they will easily know that this is 5. So always avoid that. Let your writing be legible enough for a student itself to see and to know that this is what you are trying to write. So take note of that. Another one you need to know is what you call a concise writing. So what concise writing, you need to write something in a short form. You don't need to write story enough. So if you are writing any examination and you are writing story, from there you can lose mark. Most of all these markers do not have time. So they look at points. Sometimes they look at point. So if you are able to write point and you are able to convince them with the point you are able to write, definitely you can have enough mark on the question. So best thing you can do is that write in such a way that you be short, in a short form. Don't write story. Don't write 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages on a given question. So from there you can lose mark. So always write something that will be easier for them to read and to capture at one instance. So write in a short form. Don't write in a long form. So that is that for the examination technique in quantitative techniques in business. So after then I'm able to congratulate you. I wish you a lot of success in your examination. So that is that for the examination techniques, as well as the tips I'm trying to pass across to you. So look at the tips, look at what I'm trying to pass to you, digest it, notice it, just an advice to you based on the quantitative techniques in business. So go through it, then able to get some certain information, get a certain fact on the tips. So that is that for the examination tips. So I wish you success in your examination. So let's move on to the summary of the day by looking at the question, the past question, as well as how to tackle the past question. What are the way of approaching the question? So we'll look at that one in a couple of minutes. Thank you. So welcome back again. Now we'll be looking at a past question. As I said earlier, we'll be looking at the past question on the quantitative techniques what in business. So we'll be looking at the May diet 2016, May 2016 diet on the what quantitative techniques what in business. So we are looking at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria foundation level examination May 2016. The quantitative techniques what in business. So we are given what 3 hours allocated to the what to the paper. So from that 3 hours, then you're able to analyze your time, the time frame. According to what I said the other time, that you are going to multiply 3 hours multiplied by the minutes. That will give what, that is 3 hours multiplied by what, by 60 minutes. That will give us what, 180 minutes. So 180 minutes, you have 100 marks. So when you divide it, you have what, 1.8 minutes. You are spending 1.8 minutes on each what mark. So question one, the first section A is trying to talk about the multiple choice question. And what are the marks allocated to each? That is 20 marks allocated to the what multiple choice question. 20 marks. So that 20 marks multiplied by 1.8, you're able to get what that is 36 minutes. You are spending 36 minutes on this particular section. Section A, you are spending 36 minutes. That is what 20 marks. So each question you are spending what 1.8 minutes in each question. So you're looking at the question, then you're able to spend 1.8 minutes in what a maximum. So if you are unable to solve it within the 1.8 minutes, definitely you can move to the other question. But if you insist that you want to solve the question, then definitely you'll be out of the mark. So best thing you can do is that always be time conscious. Spend 1.8 minutes on each question. Once you're able to do that, you are unable to solve it, then leave the question, move to the next stage. So that is that for the advice that I'll be giving to you on the question. So then what you need to do now is that you read the question, then you have to solve it once and for all. So question number one, look at the instruction given to you. Just a look at the instruction. They said, well, answer all questions in this section. Answer all questions in this question. What are the questions there? They said, what? Write only alphabet A, B, C, D, or E that correspond to the correct option in each of the following. So you are given the question and you are expected to pick either you pick A, you pick B, you pick C, D, or E. So you don't need to choose to answer from it. So just pick either A, B, C, D, or E. So question number one asks you that a company expects to produce and sell 150,000 units of its product during the first year, with this figure growing by 3% per annum. So then the number of units to be sold in year 5 is what? So what you need to do there is that you are given this particular thing can be used as what, just like in the AP aspect, APGP aspect. So what you need to do is that you need to calculate it. So you are given what, a company to produce and sell 150,000. You are given 150,000 already on that. So for the nth year, we have what, 150,000 multiplied by what? Multiplied by you have what, 3% allocated to it. So 3% allocated to it. So you're able to calculate the discount factor on that 3%. So you are able to get what, 1.0375 raised by what, n minus what, n minus 1. You are allocating what, the n minus 1 to be what, the number of time to persist. So from there you're able to calculate it, then you are going to get what, for the number of time, which is what they said you should get the number of units to be sold. So get the number of units to be sold, that will be 173,798. So to get what, the right answer to is using the formula given to you above. So from there, then you're able to look at the option. So what is the answer there? So for my own looking, you have C. You read the answer. So C is the answer for the question. Just pick C and leave the rest. So you can move to the next on the list. We have another question entirely. Say a store holding a clearance says and advise that all prices have been discounted by 20%. If a certain article is on what, on the 28th on sale. So what was the price before the sale? So that is another discount factor to be used there. So you need to familiar with all those questions so that you're able to solve it. So from there, then you're able to pick the rightful answer from it. So likewise, question number 3 also give you an insight on this, on elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand. So you have to familiar with the topic. Elasticity of demand is very, very vital in any given QT examination. So Let's go to the next question, which is question number 4. Question number 4, they are talking about a line with a negative slope passing through the point 2 and 4. Point 2 and 4. From there, that you are talking about an intercept. That is intercept. So go and look at the topic under the word, the slope intercepts. From there, you're able to know the right answer and the method of approach to the question. Question number 5, we are talking about a man plan to start saving in June. He plan to set aside some certain thing. From this particular one, you have to know that they are talking about the method. That is, from my own conclusion, that we are having what AP. That is AP. You're using what AP formula. That is arithmetic progression formula to tackle the question number 5. So that you're using to the AP. So you have what the first time, which is what is 3.5, which was first time. They said what you plan to set aside 3.5. That is 3,500 in June, and to increase its amount by 275. That 275 is what they call a common difference. 3,005 is what is the first time, right? Which is A. Common difference is D. So from there you're able to calculate the number of terms. So using the formula T n equal to A plus D that's A plus n minus 1 bracket D. So that is the real formula for the arithmetic progression. So using the formula, then you're able to get the accurate answer to the question. Let's look at the question number 6 per se. So let's look at question number 6 per se. They say what the revenue function of a company is what R equal to this, and the cost function is sold by this. So where S is the number in the unit of item and sold, obtain the break-even quantity. That is, this particular question is pointing out on break-even analysis. So you are able to look at the break-even analysis in your topic to be treated. Then from there you're able to know the rightful answer to this question. So go over the break-even analysis. Go and check the break-even analysis. Then you're able to know the method of approach on this particular question 6. So in question number 7, that's another interesting question. So the question is pointing out that you are given which of the following diagram is useful for estimating the mode of a group. That is, you are talking about the measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency. So from there, you have to, that's mode is it belongs to the measure of central tendency. So from there, you have to look at how we are going to categorize it. So which of the following diagram is useful for estimating the mode for a group frequency distribution? That is histogram. That is histogram is the rightful answer to the question. It's only a measure that can easily use to estimate the mode of a given group data in the option given to us. Component bar chart cannot be used, pie chart cannot be used, Z chart cannot be used. It is only histogram that can be used. So let's look at another interesting question. Question number 8. They said what the mean of a certain number of observation is 40. If two items with value 50 and 64 are added to this data, the mean rise to the number of items in the original data is this. So in this question, you are using the mean deviation. You are using mean to calculate it. So if you are able to look at the measure of central the tendency, then you're able to know how to approach this question. So once you're able to know the topic of the question, then the solution to the question will be more easier. So let's look at question number 9. So question number 9, which of the following statistics is affected by extreme value in the given distribution? So this one also we are talking about another question based on the measure of central tendency. That is another one, which is whether mode, mean, or median. So extreme value there. Once you're able to look at it, then you're able to know the method of approach to the question. Then we look at question number 10. Which of the following does not give an indication of a degree of a clustering around the value of an array? That is a statistic there. From there, go through your statistic, and from there you know the method of approach to the question. So let's look at question number 11. In a QTB, quantitative techniques in business examination, where the maximum possible mark in the question is 20 mark and the coefficient of variation is given as 25%, find the variance if the mean score is this. So that's the coefficient of variance. That's what we are trying to pass to you. The topic is coefficient of variance, of variation, coefficient of variation. So that is the topic there. So go and look a lot of questions on the coefficient of variance. So once you're able to look at it, then the question will be solved with is. Let's look at question number 12. The difference between the median and the range of the set of number this and this is what this particular question is centered on what on the both the straighter tendency and the what a dispersion. So from there you also arrange the figure, the observation, arrange it. After you're able to arrange it, then you're able to think about the highest and the lowest in calculating the range. Look at the highest and lowest. So range is equal to the difference between the highest minus what minus the lowest. So that is the range. So the median, that's the middle value out of what after you have arranged the observation from this either from the smallest to the biggest, that's what descending order, or from the what from the smallest to the biggest, that is ascending order. So first of all, arrange it either in ascending form, that is from lowest to the highest, or from descending form from the highest to the lowest. So the middle number there, be able to grab it. So after calculating that range and also look at the median, then you're able to look at what the requirement for you. They said find the difference between the median and the range. So get the median, get the range, then you subtract it, then you get your normal answer for the question. So let's look at another interesting question. That question is based on question number 13. Question number 13. They say which of the following is not true about expected value? About expected value, the question is centered on what? On some certain average. Call it average. From average, look at the average. Look at the topic. Then you have to know what they are trying to pass to you. Remember, they said not true. They said not true about expected value. So from there, you look at the answer to the question. So let's look at question number 14. Let's look at question number 14. This particular question number 14 is centered on probability. Probability. They said if a coin and an unbiased dice are tossed together, what's probability of obtaining a tall number of greater than 3? So this is what a purely a probability. So go and check what any question relating to the probability, as well as looking at what the way they are combining both the coin and what a die. So from there you're able to know how you can approach this question number 14. So it's based on probability. Check a question that relating to a coin and a die. So from there, and you're able to approach this question in a successful way. So question number 15, they said what the plot of a time series as a graph is called what? That is what a time series analysis. So go and check time series analysis to tackle question number 15. Question number 16, which of the following is used to measure the degree of association? We are talking about what correlation, differentiation, all those things that deal with association between two or more variables. From there, you can easily tackle the question. So question number 17 also hide on what? On the trend value. On the trend value, go and check the trend value. It's one of the method of evaluation of a particular figures or a particular inventory. From there, you have to know how you can approach this question. So once you're able to know the topic, go through the topic. Then from there, you're able to have access or have enough knowledge on how to deal with question that deal with what? Trend analysis. So then moving to another question, which is what question number 18. Question number 18. We are having what the daily sales record. Daily sales record of a company with their corresponding probability. This is another purely probability aspect that deal with what the total sale of 2 consecutive days. So go and check that probability as well. Then you approach it. Then from there you're able to grab your answer. And this particular one is talking about what expected value of 2 consecutive days. So go and check what expected value using the probability method of solving it. So question number 19 is talking about the company make 2 products X and Y. It takes 2.5 or 2 quarter hours to make 1 unit of X and 3 quarter hour to make 1 unit of Y. If only 18,000 direct labor hours are available, then the production time constraint is expressed as what? This another question based on the word inequality. So go and check our question based on inequality. Go and digest it. Go through it. Then from there you're able to know how you can approach this question number 2019. So another interesting one is based on what replacement analysis. We are talking about a queuing theory. That is, in a simple query, in simple query, if the arrival rate is 5 customers in 15 minutes and the service rate is 8, that is purely a queuing theory. So go and check any question related to queuing theory. Yes, so you have to know how you can approach the question. So we are through with what the multiple choice question. Then we can move to the theoretical aspect. So let's move to the theoretical aspect now. So let's look at the question number 1. Let's look at question number 1. Let's look at the question 1. Let's look at what the question is all about. So once you're able to know what the question is all about, then you're able to know how you can tackle the question. Look at the area where the question is testing student. So if you are able to know area where the question is testing the student, then you're able to know the way you can solve it. This particular question number 1 is testing candidates in understanding of production, understanding of cost and profit concept, and also their skills in the use of tables and graph to compose production level and profit associated with business operation or activities in a company or firm setting. That is the area by which this question number 1 is testing to student. It's testing student on the understanding of production, how you produce, how you distribute, how you convert. Also test student on the cost and profit concept. Also testing student on how they can use their skills in the use of tables and the skills in the use of graph to compute the requirement, and also the cost and profit associated with the business operational activities in the company or firm setting. So if you are able to know the relative or point I'm trying to point out, then question 1 will be simple to you. So firstly, they said the requirement 1 on question number 1 is said that if the production costs are to be take at 850 in the first year with an annual growth rate of 5%, calculate the profit in 5 years. So this particular question is testing student on production aspect. So also is testing student on the cost aspect. First thing you can do in this particular question is that you first of all calculate what the units produced and sold in that particular year. Then look at the growth rate per annum. After looking at the growth rate, then look at the selling price in that particular year. Then if you are able to do those things, then you can easily move to the getting the selling price and the production cost. From there, then you're able to look at the growth rate per annum as well as the production cost in that particular year. Then you're able to derive the profit in that year. So that's exactly what they are trying to pass in the question 1A. So in question 1B, what they are trying to say is that they said draw a graph to depict the above information. So the graph they expect to draw involve 2 points. It can be the one with the production units of 4 units, as well as the one on the company spent on both 5,000 as well as the 30,000. So look at the production line as well as the unit of production. Look at the unit of production and the total cost. So you have to plot it so that you're able to derive what they are trying to pass to you as in terms of the requirement. So look at that one as well. Then look at the next one, which is question number B. So that use your graph above to estimate the number of units to be produced to incur a total cost of 70,000. That is another thing. From the graph, you're able to detect that one. And they now said deduce daily fixed cost of the company from the graph above, and from the above obtain the equation representative. So from the graph you are going to prepare, then you have to derive how you can approach how to get all those requirements. So if you are unable to prepare the graph, definitely you are going to have issue with how to get the requirements. So and then last one, which was 4, ask to comment on the results. So the answer you're able to get, you have to comment on it. So for you to get the clarity of the question. So let's look at question number 2, C. Let's move on to question number 2, part C. What is trying to pass to you first thing is to know where the question is coming from. What is it testing student? Is it testing student on some certain area? You need to do at all those things as well. So the question number 2, from where I'm looking at it, is that it's testing candidate understanding of compound interest. Testing candidate on how to understand the compound interest analysis and also derivation. So we also look at the marginal revenue function from a given what total revenue function, as well as the constant or constraint function associated with specified business activities. So this question is telling students on compound interest, no doubt about it. It also tells students on how to derivate in terms of marginal revenue function as well as total revenue function. From there, you're able to look at what the constraint aspect, constraint function associated with the specified business activities. So once you are able to grab this particular one, then the question what is solvable. So that is that for the question number 2. You are expected to use logarithm to base 10 to determine the compound interest rate on the investment. That is what 2A. But for 2B, 2B is asking you that what derive the following constraint. That's another thing I'm trying to point out, that you are asked to get the constraint in terms of the direct labor, machine time, sales demand, and also what non-negativity. So from what the constraint you're able to get, you're able to relate it to the direct labor, relate it to the machine time, relate to the sales demand, relate to what non-negativity. That requirement they ask you to get in question number 2. So let's look at the question number 3 aspect. What are they trying to text you? From my own observation, the question number 3, you'll be testing student based on the word least square line, least square line, least square analysis, least square line. The candidate are expected to have skills in the fitting of least square line for a given data, and also in the use of such fitted line for prediction or forecasting. So if you are able to have knowledge on the least square line and also in the use of such fitted line for prediction or forecasting, then the question will be solvable with ease. Well, let's look at the requirement. It says certain year 2000 is the least square line for the annual expenditure. That is also least square as a topic. Why can't you go and look for the topic based on the least square line? So from there you have to know how you can approach the particular question. And question number 1B has to do with forecasting. So another topic or another interesting topic that you'll be checking under the probability aspect is under the forecasting aspect is what they call the forecasting based on the expenditure. So look at those things. So from there you're able to know how you can approach the question. Without doing that, for you to get the accurate figures, accurate solution for the question will be difficult. So it is better for a student to know where the question is coming from, the topic is coming from, then how you can approach the question. So that is that for the question number 3. So let's move on to another interesting question, which is question number 4. Question number 4. So where is it taking us? You need to know where the question is coming from. So question, let's looking at the question. We are talking about a gambler play a game of chance. That is, a gambler play a game of chance in which he has 60% chance of winning. From this particular question, let's look at the requirement. They said requirement: if he loses alternative game, obtain the sample space respectively for 12 game and 14 game. From this particular question, what I can see is that the question is testing students, especially the candidate, understanding of probability analysis, expected value, return, and the computation of game situation, identification of feasible solution in transportation mode problem using the least cost method. So that is what the question is trying to pass to you based on the requirement. So best advice I can give to you is that you should go and know details on the probability analysis, go and know the details on the expected value or return computation, go and know details on the game situation, go and know details on the identification of feasible solution in transportation problem using the least cost method. So that's only way you can solve this particular question number 4. So if you are unable to know the probability analysis, expected value or return, game situation, identification of feasible solution, and the transportation problem using the least cost method, then you will be unable to solve this question 4A and question 4B. So that is that for the question number 4. So let's look at question number 5 aspect. Let's look at question number 5. Let's look at question number 5. What is trying to point out? This question number 5. Let me look at the requirement first. Let's look at the requirement first. We'll look at the requirement. So let's look at the requirement. They said find the total cost function Look at another one, cost of producing 50 items. And also another one, which is B, if a bag is picked at random, what is the probability that it weight less than 3012 grams, between 3012 grams and 3021 grams. So this particular question is testing ability of the student in deriving the firm total cost relation, from its marginal cost relation using the calculus concept of integration, and also use the normal distribution analysis for probability computation. So that's what the question trying to test students. So you go and learn more on the concept of integration, that is calculus aspect, and also the normal distribution of the analysis of probability computation. So once you're able to do that, then you will not have problem with the question. So that is that for the question. So let's look at another one, which is the final question for the May 2016 diet. So what the question is trying to pass through? Let's all look at the question. Look at the requirements. Once you are given a paper, the first and foremost you need to look at it is what is the requirement. Once you are given a paper in your examination, first thing you can know is what is the requirement. Once you're able to know the requirement, then you're able to know where you are going. Assuming that they said, "Oh, Mr. A, go to that room." So if they ask you to go to that room without telling you what to do there, definitely you just be parabolating. You don't know what they ask you to do. So the first and foremost is that if the question passed to you that they said do this, so definitely if you reach that particular place, then you're able to know what you want to do with ease. But the question, once they are giving a paper, the question now give you a particular case scenario, and they also give you a requirement. So why can't you look at the requirement first? Once you look at the requirement, then after that, then you can move to the question. Look at the case scenario. So look at from beginning to the end. So as you are reading, then you have to know that this is exactly what the examiner trying to point out, that this is what they ask you to do, your requirement from the question. So if you are starting with the question without looking at the requirement first, definitely if you read the requirement, you are still going back to the question. So why are you stressing yourself? Why are you wasting time? So best thing you can do is that once you are given a question, go and look at the requirement. After looking at the requirement, after digesting the requirement, then go back to the case scenario. Look at read it. Then from there you have to know this is what they are trying to pass. This is what they are trying to ask you. This is what they ask you to provide. So once you're able to do that, everything will be easier and will also be solvable. So that is that for the question number 6. This particular question is testing students on the trend analysis and also on the seasonal adjustment for quarterly basis. So it is better for the student to know more details on the replacement analysis. That is for the B aspect. It's talking about replacement analysis. Once you are able to know that, then no doubt for that question number 6, it will be easier to solve. So that is that for the May 2016 diet examination. So believing that, they will move to the next diet. That is November 2016. So let's look at another year, which is November 2016. In this particular examination, is still remain with quantitative techniques in business. We are looking at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria foundation level examination for November 2016. Quantitative techniques in business. Quantitative techniques in business. Time allowed is 3 hours. I've already explained that one to you. That is how to calculate your time so that you're able to be time conscious. So it's 3 hours allocated paper. So we expect to be spending nothing less than 1.8 minutes on each question. That's 1 minute 8 seconds on each question. So you're also able to do that, then definitely you are able to minimize your time wastage. You're able to be time conscious. So look at the question, look at the requirement, look at a possible solution to the question. Under the question number section A, we have a multiple choice question. Under section A, we have a multiple choice question, and that particular multiple choice question is having a 20 marks. It's 20 marks. That is 20 marks multiplied by 1.8. You have 36 minutes to be spent on this particular multiple choice question from question 1 to question number 20. So you need to be looking at the time aspect so before you can solve the question. So the first question asks you that if an initial amount of 10,000 grew up to 24,500 and what 96 over an 8 years period, calculate the interest rate if the interest was compounded annually. This particular question is centered on the word on the compound interest. From the compound interest, go and check what any question or any go and take the topic compound interest and solve most of the question on the word compound interest. So from that particular topic as well as the question solved, then you're able to know how you can tackle question number 1. So the question is based on the compound interest. So go and check compound interest, then you're able to look at the series of questions on that. So from there you have to tackle this question. So let's move to question number 2. They said the food and beverage managers of an hotel in Lagos bought 2 cows, 3 ram for 225,000. Immediately after the purchase, he realized that he need to buy more rams. He then bought 4 rams, 1 cow at 200,000 naira. The same units prevailed in the 2 purchases altogether. The cost of the cow and the cost of the 1 ram are respectively what? This was that question interesting student on how you can apply whether either elimination method or substitution method. Once you're able to know the simultaneous equation, you're able to solve this question. So if you are ready to know simultaneous equation, definitely you can solve this question. So it's better for you to go and learn more on the simultaneous equation, because this particular question too is centered on simultaneous equation. You know that in simultaneous equation you can use substitution method, you can use elimination method to solve it. So go and practice on simultaneous equation, as well as what using the word substitution method or elimination method. So let's look at question number 3. In number 3, we have what derive the revenue function for the marginal revenue, and as well as if the revenue is 90,000 when the quantity Q is 1,000 units. This question is centered on what on function. We call it function. Application of function. This particular we can look at what the constant of the integration or integration from it. You can also use the substitution method in solving this particular question, but this particular question is centered on the function. The function will be revenue function, marginal revenue function, as well as what the use of what a constant integration using the substitution method. So from there, then you can pick how you can solve this question with ease. So let's look at question number 4. What is this trying to pass to us? Question number 4, a man is planning to buy a business worth 1.2 million. From this particular question, you can see that when somebody is planning to establish a particular business in the nearest future, that we are talking about interest. That's why simple interest. You are using simple interest to get it. You are using simple interest. You are using annuity method, amortization method. You can use what sinking fund method to solve it. So the question is asking you, a man is planning to buy a business worth 1.2 million in the nearest future. If he invests 600,000 now at 15% simple interest, how long will it take him to buy the business? So you are using in simple interest method to solve this question. After then, you can use substitution method to analyze the time aspect. So they ask you how long is trying to point out the time aspect. So for using the simple interest method, then you're able to analyze it and get the time frame of that business. So that is that for the question number 4. So let's go to question number 5. What is the present value of 1.8 million at 16% simple interest rate over 6 years? That is another question based on the amounts using simple interest or compound interest. So you need to know more on the simple interest as well as the compound interest. So if you can do that, then to solve question number 5 will be easier. So let's move on to the next question, which is question number 6. That one is talking about what? Question number 6 about the maximum value of y equal to this is this. This other question is talking about the turning point. We call it turning point using what the differentiation method. Turning point using the what differentiation method. So if you are unable to know the differentiation method, then you can solve this particular question. So you are using the turning point method to solve the word to solve the question. So it's better of you to know it so that you can able to tackle the question. So that is that for the question number 6. So let's look at the question number 7. Number 7, if the monthly salary of the staff of this is distributed as follows. So what is the mean salary? What is the mean salary? So this question is telling student based on let me just look at it. They said mean salary. That is, we are talking about a median. We are talking about a median. They said find the median salary. We are talking about the median. So we know that median has a particular formula to be checked on it. We have L plus N over 2 minus FC all over FM multiplied by C, where L is a lower class boundary of the middle class. We have FC to be our cumulative frequency. We have FM to be median class frequency. We have N to be total number of staff, as well as it to become a class size. This is what I'm trying to pass to you. That's where you have a median using the formula median equal to the L plus N over 2 minus FC multiplied by C all over FM all over FM. So this particular formula is where you can apply a word in question number 7. If you are unable to get the formula, definitely you can solve this question. So it's better for you to learn this formula in a deep form so that you can able to solve the question based on question number 7. So that's that for the question number 7. Let me quickly put the formula down so you're able to understand the N over 2 minus minus FC all over FM multiplied by C. So where L represents lower class boundary of the median class, N represents the number total number of staff Then we have FC to represent our cumulative frequency. We have FM to represent our middle class frequency. FM to represent our middle class frequency, and the C aspect represent the class size. So that is that for question number 7, using the median formula to solve it. So and then we move to the next question, which is question number 8. Yeah, that's purely mean deviation. Mean deviation. That is a measure of dispersion. Measure of dispersion. Measure of dispersion. That is that is categorized. Mean deviation is categorized under the measure of dispersion. So if you are able to know measure of dispersion, then you won't have issue on this particular question. So they ask you to calculate the mean deviation of the delivery of the code. That is a measure of dispersion. So we calculate before you can calculate the measure of dispersion, you first of all calculate what we call a mean. Calculate the mean. So once you're able to calculate the mean, then you're able to calculate the mean deviation. So first and foremost, to calculate the mean, from there you are going to prepare a table to calculate the mean deviation. So that is that for the question number 8. Question number 9, the standard deviation of the 6 deliveries. Standard deviation also belongs to the measure of dispersion. Measure of dispersion. So after calculate the mean, you calculate the mean deviation. Then from there you can easily detect your standard deviation. So that's out to the question number 9. Question number 8 and question 9, go and study more on the measure of dispersion. Measure of dispersion. That's what the question is centered on. Question number 10, they said if the means of 7 number is 10, if 6 of the numbers are 2, 4, this and this, so find the mode. This particular question is centered on the measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency. So this particular question, go and check more on the measure of central tendency. If you are able to know more details on the measure of central tendency, then you're able to solve the question with ease. So that is that for the question. So let's look at another interesting question, which is question number 11. Question number 11, we are talking about quarterly. First quartile of this number is this. Fourth quartile is 75%, and the first quartile is this to determine the what the quartile deviation. So this particular question is centered on the word quartile deviation. So from there, go and share details of any question that relates to the quartile deviation. From there, you can easily know how you can solve the question. So first thing and foremost is to know where the question is coming from, which topic is it coming from. So once you're able to know the topic is coming from, then you know the formula to apply in order to solve the question. Question number 12, you are talking about a mean of a certain number of observations. So why the question is talking about was measure of central tendency. That's another question. Remember, we have question number what? Question number 10 is talking about measure of central tendency. Question number 8 and 9 also you are computing a measure of central tendency before going to the measure of dispersion. So this particular topic, measure of dispersion and measure of central tendency, are very, very important in what quantitative techniques, what in business. So go and check, go and study more on the measure of central tendency and measure of dispersion. So it is very, very better, as in the way I'm seeing it in this word, in this particular question. It's like they are repeating more of this question, or more of this word question on this word measure of central tendency and measure of dispersion. So that is that for the question number 12. So let's move on question number 13. Let's look at what they are trying to give to us. Question number 13 is trying to point out a coin is tossed into the air and a card is drawn from it. That is another question based on the word probability. Another question based on probability. You can see that probability also is very vital in quantitative techniques. So you go and check details on what on probability item, probability topic. Look at the coin aspect as well as the die aspect, so that you can have access, you can easily know details more on them, so that you can be able to solve question based on probability. So another interesting question, which is number 14, if there are 40% chance that business will fail, that's another question on probability. You can see most of this topic are being repeating here and there. So that's another question on probability. So go and study probability more on it, so that you're able to tackle the question number 14 and number 13 and the question number 15 also. And let's look at what they are trying to pass to us. So the question say that if the present value of 40,000 in 2 years time is 70,360, what a discount rate of 9%. This question is talking about the annuity factors. Go and check what annuity factors. Go and check it. Go and look at the formula. So once you're able to complete the formula, then the question will be more simpler to you. But the question here is that look at the question. You can see the discount rate of 9%, the corresponding of annuity. That should be 70,360 divided by 40,000. You get your answer. So let's go at question number 17. What is trying to the point out there? Number 17. Number 17 is that the following result we obtain for 5 years of observation. APS is what independent variable determine the regression coefficient. This particular question is talking about regression coefficient. So it's also another interesting topic on the quantitative techniques. Go and check it. Go and work on it, so that you can easily get a method on how to solve the question. Question number 18. What is it trying to pass to us? A company operates for 3 days each week. If they say data in this is this, find the moving average. That is another question based on the time series analysis. Go and check details on time series analysis. From there you can know details on how you can use the method moving average method. You know, we have a simple average, we have moving average, we have simple average also. From there you're able to know how you can solve the question number 18. And question number 19, that's another question that is based on what exemption. That is, which of one of the following statement is not. So that's another is exempt to it. And question number 20 is trying to two methods using determine the replacement time of it. That's a replacement analysis. Go and check the question on replacement analysis. That is that for the November 2016 multiple choice question. So let's move on to the theoretical aspect. Let's look at question number 1. The theoretical aspect. So they say section B. You know, we have done section A, that's having a multiple choice question. We are now in section B, which is a question that based on the theoretical aspect. So we call it open-ended question. And this particular open-ended question is comprised of 80 marks. Mind you, the multiple choice question in section A is 20 marks, and this one is what, 80 marks. So total making what, 100 marks in total. So in this particular aspect of section B, you are expected to answer any 4 out of 6 questions in this section. Any 4 out of these questions. So that means each question will carry what, 20 mark. So you are having what, 4 questions to be answered out of the what, 6 questions. So let's look at the question. Let's look at the way we can approach the question. So question number 1, what is it trying to point out? So let's look at question number 1. What is it testing student? So from my own observation, let me look at the question, let me look at the requirement, so that I can easily know where the question is what is coming from. So let's look at the question 1A. So how much was invested in each what properties? How much was invested in this property? And second one, which is B aspect, we have what, let's look at it. They say calculate the total amount shared, and also you are given that you should find the what utilization factor for these services and number of customers in the queue. So from my own observation, I can see that the question is trying to test the candidate knowledge based on business related problem, that lead to simultaneous equation, fraction problem, concept of the queuing theory. So that is a thing you need to understand. The question is testing students based on 3 basic things. We have what they call a business related problem. We have second one, which is what is testing student on the word on simultaneous what equation. We have simultaneous equation, and we also have what is called a fractional problem. And the last one, which is one now area by which the question is testing student, is the area of what we call a queuing what theory. So these particular 3 topics, you need to go and look at it in a deep form, so that once you're able to know it, then you can easily tackle the question. So it is important for you to know where the question is coming from, so that you're able to know where you can how you can approach it. So that's question number 1. Testing question is testing student based on what 3 key things: business related problem, simultaneous equation, and fractional problem, and also queuing theory. So that is that for the question 1, November 2016 diet. So then we look at question number 2. They said what, compute the class mark, class boundary, and relative cumulative frequency for each mark. So that is the question number 2A requirements. So let's look at question number 2B requirement before we know where we can come out from the question. We say determine the probability that the first 3 persons served consists of what, 1 man, 1 woman, men only, or women only, or 2 children and a woman. This particular question is testing candidates' knowledge of constructing frequency distribution. That is what the A part of the question, which is what question 2A. Question 3A is trying to point out what testing the candidate knowledge based on the constructing frequency distribution table from a set of raw data given to us, and the computation of the class mark, class boundaries, relative cumulative frequency, and the last question, which is trying to test students based on on probability rules, probability rules. That is what for the question 2B. The question 4 or 2A, trying to test students based on the constructing frequency distribution, when distribution was table relating to the set of raw data, computation of class mark, class boundary, relative cumulative frequency, as well as the second one, which is what the computation of probability was using the probability rules. So that's what the question is trying to test the candidate. So you need to know all those things. Let's look at question number 3. Where is it testing student? Which area, which topic are they testing student on? So let's look at the question, the requirement first, so that we can know where the question is coming from. So the first one is that they said calculate the variance of number of order outstanding. Variance on order outstanding. That is, you are talking about measure of variation That's where the question is coming out from, measure of variation. And secondly, let's look at the B aspect. The third one. So if the annual cost of holding inventory of each year is 12%, and 12.5% of purchase price of a unit, calculate the annual order what cost. This particular question is telling students on the concept of inventory control. Concept of what? Inventory control. That is what the question 2. Concept of what? Concept of inventory control. That's what the question 2 is trying to point out. But in question number 3 is trying to tell students on what? On the measures of what? Measures of what? Measures of variation. That's what the question is trying to point out. Measure of variation. Then you can see what you need, what the graphical aspect, graphical representation of what? Of data. That's where what the question is trying to teach the students to try to know details on the what? On measure of variation, graphical representation of data, as well as what the last one, which is what? The concept of inventory control. So that is what you are expected to notice when you are dealing with the questions. So go and know those topics so that you're able to know how you can tackle them. So let's look at question number what? Let's look at question number 4, which is another interesting topic. Question number 4, another interesting topic. So where is it testing the students? So let's look at it. Let's look at the requirements. This particular question number 4. Let's look at the requirement. They said what percentage of the candidates score between 45 and 50 in the examination? That's the first requirement. He said if 10,000 candidates sat for the examination, find the numbers of candidates that score outside the above given range. That's another one. So let's look at the next requirement, which is B aspect. They said require use tally method to obtain the frequency distribution based on classes, and also using the word cumulative frequency distribution. Then you are having another one. They say draw the OGIF of the distribution and deduce the quartile deviation of the distribution. That is another interesting question. So where is it testing the candidates? So from my own knowledge, as well as what the requirement given to us in the question, that is, this question is testing students based on the word normal distribution. Normal distribution. I'm talking about what? Normal what? Distribution. Normal distribution using the word, using the tally method to construct the frequency distribution table. So and the deduction of quartile from the plotted cumulative frequency curve. So that is the second one, which was the construction of the cumulative frequency OGIF. That is the OGIF aspect for the second one. So the candidate aspect is to know more knowledge, to have more knowledge on the normal distribution using the tally method to construct frequency distribution table, and also in deduction of quartile from the plotted cumulative frequency OGIF. So that is the area the question is testing you, an area you should focus on when you are dealing with the question. So let's look at question number 5. They said what the requirement said that the Shehu share is double for the Washuku, while Tare share is 60% more than that of 18, 25% more. So if the man asset is worth 20 million, determine 18 share. That is first requirement. The second requirement is that you said the probability that Tony passes the driving test is 0.58, while the probability that Bola fail the same test is 0.68. If the event of passing the driving test are independent, determine the probability that at least one of them failed the driving test, and also Tony and Bola pass the driving test. So that is the first one they ask us to do. That is our first requirement. So let's look at the B aspect now, so know where the question relies. So let's look at the B aspect. They said you are required to use the least cost method to allocate the product to customer and calculate the initial total transportation cost. This particular question is testing students on the knowledge of fraction. Knowledge of fraction. That is the A aspect. A aspect is talking about knowledge of fraction. You need to have the knowledge of fraction. Know that fraction is based on the basic mathematics. Go and learn fraction on basic mathematics so that you're able to test to know the word, to know the solution to the question, go and look at the fraction aspect on the simple basic mathematics. That's the first area where the question is testing on 5A. The second one, in which the question is testing candidate on B1, that one is talking about what? A probability as a topic. A probability, that is second, that is the 5B1, where the question is coming from, is from the probability. So go and know details on the word, on the probability. That is the second one you need to know. But the last one, which was B2, is trying to test the candidate on the word, on what you call a transportation problem using the what? The least cost method. So that is this particular 5A is telling students on three aspects: fraction aspect, probability aspect, transportation problem, using the least cost method. So go and check details on what, on how you can approach any question that comes from the fraction, from the probability, and from the what, transportation problem. So those are the area the question is testing in question number 5. So let's look at the next question, which is what, question number 6, which have as what, the last question for the what, for the paper, last question of the paper, which is question number 6. Let's look at this. The question number 6 has to do with what? Let's look at the requirement. It said use expected value criterion to advise which of the product should be produced. That's the that is requirement 6A. Use the expected value criterion to advise which of the product should be produced. So let's look at the what, the B aspect. What are they trying to say? You should calculate the NPV of the project using a discount rate of 10% and advise the company as appropriate. This particular question is testing students to have enough knowledge on the decision criteria. That is the first one. That is the decision criteria. Using the what? Using the expected what? Value. Using the expected value. That is what the question number 6A is trying to point out. That you should know details on the decision criteria using the expected value. But that 6B is talking about what we call a NPV. That's the net present value of a given project. So go and know details on decision criteria using the expected value, and also look at what know what you call what NPV. That's the net present value of a project. So go and know how you can solve question based on those two. So, and how you can approach question based on those two. So if you can do that, then you're able to approach the question and get the right solution to the question. So that is that for the November 2016 diet. So let's move on to the next diet. Look at the next diet. That will be what for the May 2017, and that's for the May 2017. So let's look at what they are trying to give us on that note. So let's look at it. We are starting with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigerian Foundation Level Examination, May 2017. Quantitative techniques in business. Time allowed is 3 hours. I've already explained how you can manage your time. So this one is not supposed to be a genuine thing to you on how you can manage your time. And this particular one, we have a section A aspect. And this section A aspect, we call it what, a multiple choice question. A multiple choice question is having what, 20 marks in total. That you're having question 1 to question 20. That is you're having 20 marks, that 1 mark each. One mark each on this what, on this multiple choice question. You're having question 1 to question 20. So 1 mark each on each what, on each question. So you are expected to spend nothing less than 1 minute or 8 seconds. 1 minute 8 seconds on each what, each question. So look at the question, look at the know where the question is coming from, know the formula you can use to get the solution, so that you can get what, a full mark from the question. So let's look at question number 1. How much will 22,500 amounted to at least 8% interest over 15 years compounded annually? This particular question is coming from what? Amount compounded. So go and know details on the compound interest on amount compounded. So from there you can solve the question. Let's go to question number 2. Let's look at question number 2. They said what this particular question is what if a company produces 10,000 units of a product, the total cost of producing those units is 60,000. If the fixed cost is 12,000, the variable cost per unit of the output is what? So this particular question has to do with what? Assuming a straight line equation. Assuming a straight line equation using the word substitution way, using the fixed cost, the total cost, the variable cost per unit, and also the volume or output substitution given. So if you are able to know details on how you can assume a straight line equation in a given question, know how you can deduce the total cost, look at how you can deduce the fixed cost, look how you can get the variable cost per unit, and also how you can use the volume or output, then you can easily solve the question. So using what? Y equal to what? Y equal to A plus BS. Y equal to A plus BS. That is where Y has to do with total cost. A represents what? A fixed cost. B represents what? Variable cost per unit. And S represents what? The volume or output. So if you can use the formula, then you can get what? The solution of the question 2. So let's look at what another question, which is what the calculation aspect. That's we are moving to question number 4. A man earning 150,000 per annum is allowed a tax rate fee pay of 40,000 if he pays 24 kobo in the naira as a tax on his taxable income. How much has he left? So this particular question is testing students on total earning, and also what he has left behind after deducting tax. So total earning as well as what is left behind after deducting tax. So if you can know details on how you can derive how you can get facts on how to compute a taxable income, as well as what the annual salary of a particular phenomenon or person, and also how to deduct the tax from the total earning. So and also the amount remain or amount left behind. So that's how we can easily solve this question number 4. So let's look at question number 5. If y equals to this, then the point at which slope is 0 is what we call that. That's what we call a turning point. A turning point. So if you can know this is on turning point, then you can solve this question. So question number 6. So if the structure of the company is this, what is the marginal revenue? This is talking about a function, a sales function. Once you are able to get the sales function, look at the total revenue, look at the marginal revenue. From there, they are using what marginal revenue to get what the actual marginal revenue given to you. You have to compute the marginal revenue using the total revenue, using the sales function, using the total revenue, marginal revenue. Then you're able to get your marginal revenue at the end of the question. So question number 7, that's another question that based on the exception, not true about the histogram. So go and know this on the histogram. It's very, very vital. So let's look at question number 8, which is on calculation aspect. If the monthly salary of the staff of ABC PLC is distributed as follows. So what is the requirement? What is the requirement? They said then calculate the median salary. That is another question on measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency. You know that in this particular aspect, you need to know how you can derive the formula for median. So that is another median way of computing this particular question. So remind you to calculate this particular one, you have to deduce the formula for the median. The formula is that you have LM plus N over 2 minus F all in bracket all over FM multiplied by by C. Multiplied by C. So this particular LM represents what we call the lower class boundary of the median. Lower class boundary of the median. The N represents the total frequency. This F represents the cumulative frequency before the class media. This particular FM represents the frequency of the class media, and this particular C represents the class wind. So all these things, they are terminology in which you need to know when you are computing the media using the formula. So next thing is to look at another question, which is calculation question. We have question number 10. The variance of 3 plus S, 6 and 4, S and S minus 7 minus S is 4, and the median is 5. Find the standard deviation. That's another question on measure of dispersion. Measure of what? Dispersion. Go and note this on the measure of dispersion. So from there you're able to know how you can calculate the standard deviation. Mind you, standard deviation is what is square root of the what of the variance. So since the variance is what is 4, definitely the standard deviation will be what will be 2. So the answer is 2 in question number 10. So let's look at question number 11. If the age distribution of the artisan in a tobacco company is tabulated as follows, then the first quartile, that's another question on quartile deviation. So go and note this is on quartile deviation. So before you can solve this kind of question number 12 also is center on what? Center on the, let me see. Question number 12 is center on another one on the quartile. Go and note this on the quartile deviation. So that's how you can solve the question. Question number 13, that is I on what? On the probability aspect. Go and note this on the probability. Question number 14, that is another question that is what? The two components of the time series. That is question that fall on the time series. Go and check details on the what? On the time series before you can solve the question. Question number 13, we have solved that one. Question number 14, we have solved that one. Let's move to question number 15. This question also center on what? On the probability aspects, probability on the area of detection. The defection item is from the process. So the defection item, that is question testing on the probability aspect. Go and check probability on the defective what item. Question number 17, that is what? The if R is the correlation coefficient, that's the correlation coefficient. Go and check question on correlation coefficiency so that you're able to solve the question. So let's go at number 18. A 10 years record of cocoa production in a certain farm is separated as this. So based on the 4 years moving total, the center moving, that is going on what another question on time series. So it's from there you're able to use the method moving average to get your to solution. So the question is on time series analysis. So they now ask you that you should use what the moving average to get your solution to the question. So let's look at question number 19. Let's look at question number 19. Number 19, where is it coming from? You see, that's another one. We call it transportation problem. That's transportation problem. That's where the question is coming from. You are given the source, you are given the destination. Source and destination, that is talking about the transportation problem. Go and gather information as how to tackle any question based on transportation problem. So using the northwest method to find what E plus F. So that's for transportation problem. Partial question on transportation problem. And lastly, in the multiple choice question number 20, this question is talking about what? In inventory control, the economic order quantity of an item is given at this ordering cost 500 naira per order, and demand for the item in 6 months is this. What is the holding cost? This particular question tests student on EOQ. We call it EOQ, economic order quantity. EOQ, economic order quantity. And the formula for the EOQ, let me quickly analyze this. EOQ equal to what? Square root of what? 2DCO all over what? All over CH. So what do I mean by what? EOQ, that's economic order quantity. D represents what? The annual demand. CO represents what we call ordinary cost. That's what? Ordinary cost, or we call it what? Ordering cost. CH represents what? Holding cost. So our EOQ is what? Economic order quantity. So if you are able to know details on economic order quantity using the formula deducing in this particular question, then that is EOQ equal to square root of 2DCO all over CH, where D represents annual demand, CO represents ordering cost, CH represents holding cost. Then if you are able to identify them and how to apply them, definitely you can solve the question with ease. So that is that for the multiple choice question in May 2017 diet quantitative techniques in business. So let's look at the theoretical aspect. Let's look at the theoretical aspect. If you're looking at the theoretical aspect, that is theoretical aspect is dealing with what? Some question. That is section B. Section B. So let's look at section B aspect. Now you have done section A. That's multiple choice question from question 1 to question 20. This one is section B, which is what we call an open-ended question, open-ended question, and this question is making of what? A total of 80 marks. 80 marks. That means you are having what? The instruction said that you are required to answer any 4 out of 6 questions in this section. That means the 4 questions will be what? Will be based on 20 marks each. Mind you, you have already have 20 marks in the section A. That's the multiple choice question from question 1 to question 20. This one you are having 80 marks, out of which 4 questions will be answered out of 6 questions. That you are having what? 20. Your location, I respond or yes respond, and your location. And also don't forget to click the share button so that you can have access to your own copy. So that is that for the student. So let's look at your question number 1. Question number 1. Let's look at question number 1 of the question. The said word in question number 1A. 1A for May 2017 diet. We have what? The requirement there, you are required to determine when the machine should be replaced, assuming it has a 0 salvage value. This particular question is trying to bring about any integration to a business problem, and also determine the total net earning, including the cost of repair maintenance within the period. And also let's look at the second question. Said what? That is 1B. Draw an histogram to represent the wages. So represent the wage distribution using the scale on S axis. 1 centimeter represent 100 naira. On Y axis, 1 centimeter represent what? The 10 artisan. Deduce the modal weekly wages and use the appropriate formula to calculate the modal weekly wages. This particular question is testing students based on so 2 basic things. We have what they call application of integration to a business problem. Application of integration to what business problem? Application. We have application of what? Integration. Application of integration to a business what? To a business problem. That's what the question number 1 is trying to point out. And the question number 2 also do with what? Representation of business information using what you call an histogram. So the question is telling students on the ability to apply integration to a business problem and also ability to represent a business information in what using histogram. So that's what the question 1 is testing us in this word section. So let's look at the question number 2. So where is it coming from? Let's look at where is it coming from. Question number 2. Said what? The requirement 1A. A1, we have what? Is 6-sided and a fair die is thrown into the air. What is probability of getting it? This question is talking about application of probability. That's the application of probability. Let me look at the word. Another one. We have you are required to compute 1 6-inch block, 2 6-inch block, and 1 of 2 6-inch block. That's first question 1A, 1 and 2. Let's look at 1. The monthly expenditure of this household on some item are given as follows. Determine the angle which will represent each item on a pie chart, and also you are required to draw the activities on arrow network diagram for the project and determine the duration of the project. This particular question is testing students on the application of what? Application of probability theory. Probability theory. That's what the question 1A, 1 and 2 is trying to test us on, the probability theory. So question number 1B, that was testing candidate on the what? The angles of what? Of a pie chart. The pie chart from given data and drawing of network what? Diagram. Drawing of what? Drawing of network. Drawing of network what? Diagram from a given project. That is where all the question is testing us. First one is that the question is testing us on the application of probability theory to a business problem, and candidates are expected to have the knowledge of calculating angle for pie chart from given data and drawing of network diagram for a given project. That's what the question is testing us. So that's for question number 2. Let's move to question number 3. What is trying to pass to us? Let's look at it. Question number 3, and they said what? A lawyer plan to save a certain amount of money, that is S naira, per annum for 5 years. On the first day of the year, if the interest rate is 8%, for him to receive 696,910 naira 50 kobo. Determine X. That's the first question. The second question, we are talking about what? Second question, let's look at what they are trying to pass to us. You are required to what? 1. Obtain the regression equation if the mark is in QTB, that's the quantitative technique in business, is regress on FE. And secondly, obtain the estimate of mark in QTB and quantitative techniques in business if the mark is FE is what? 60. And also obtain the estimate of mark in FE if the mark is quantitative techniques in business is what? 75. This particular question is testing candidates based on the what? The annuity. The first one is what? Based on the annuity. That is question annuity. Based on the what? Question number 3A. That is testing candidate on the what? On the annuity and the ability to obtain the regression line. Ability to obtain the regression what? Regression line. Regression line for a given data, and how to use it to predict future value. That's what the question 3B is trying to point out. Remember, this question number 3 is trying to test candidate understanding of annuity and their ability to obtain the regression line for a given data and use it to predict what? Future value. That is what the question number 3 is talking about. So let's move on to the next question, which is question number 4. Question number 4. We are talking about question number 4A now. Question number 4A, let's look at the requirement for question number 4A. So let's look at where the question is coming from. It's better for you to know where the question is coming from so that you're able to know how you can easily approach the question. So let's look at question number 4A. They said what? A fleet of lorry ABC are loaded with blocks made for a building site, and you are required to draw a suitable tree diagram, calculate the proportion of damaged block in the fleet, and also the probability of randomly taking a damaged block from lorry B. That's question number 4A. Let's look at question number 4B. Let's look at question number 4B. Number 4B said that what? You should identify the non-basic variable and compute their corresponding relative cost efficient. What the question number 4B said that what? A bag contains this 39,800 white disk and 200 black disks, from which 1,000 disks are taken as random. Calculate the probability that the sample contain 4 black disks. So this particular question is trying to test the ability of a student on how to draw a probability tree diagram. That is what question number 4 is trying to point out, how to draw what we call a probability tree diagram. That is what question number 4 is trying to pass on. So the students are expected to know how to measure probability of how to draw a tree diagram. That is number 4A. Then 4B, let's look at the 4B. It's telling students on how to on transportation problem. Transportation problem. Travel problem for the B1. For B2 is trying to test students on what? Probability theory. So the students are expected to know 3 things on this question. Question number 4. So question number 4A is testing students or candidates on how to draw a probability tree diagram. And in question number 4B is testing students based on what? Transportation problem. That is in 4B1, transportation problem. And in 4B2 is testing students on probability theory. So all these topics are what the students are expected to know details on, so that they will be able to tackle this question. So that is that for the question number 4A and 4B. Let's move to question number 5. Let's move to question number 5. Let's look at what the question is trying to point out and where is it coming from. So question number 5 they said what? 5A, they said given the following inequality, you are expected to graph them on the same graph sheet using the following scale S and Y axis. Let 1 centimeter represent 250 units, and 2 Shade the area in which this inequality holds. Determine coordinate of the corner point of the above shaded area. That is question number 5A. In question number 5B, it said two chartered accountants S and Y were requested to rank 10 banks A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J according to their performance during a financial year. S rank the bank as follows: E, B, G, A, C, D, H, F, J, I. Y rank them E, C, A, B, G, H, J, D, F, I. Calculate the Spearman rank correlation coefficient between the S and Y and interpret your result. This particular question number 5 is testing candidate based on a graphical solution. That is the question number 5A. It is based on what? A graphical solution. A graphical solution of a linear programming. Of a what? Of a linear programming. Linear programming. That is what the question number 5A is trying to point out. Is testing student on a graphical solution of a linear programming. So question number 5B, what it's trying to point out is that it's trying to test the student on the calculation of rank correlation using what you call a Spearman rank. A Spearman rank correlation. That's what the question is trying to test student on two things. That's the question number 5 is telling student on two things: graphical solution of a linear programming and also a Spearman rank correlation. Those are the two things that the question is trying to point out on the word question number 5. So you should know details on the graphical solution using the linear programming as well as the rank correlation for question number 5. So let's look at the final question under the word 2017. So final question, which is question number 6. So question number 6, we're looking at question number 6A now and question number 6B. So let's look at the area where the question is coming from and how you can easily approach the question. Question number 6A, let's look at the requirement. They said, well, the laptop that are purchased by a company have 742 DAOs with a lifespan of 5 months. This DAO fail on a regular basis according to the following probability distribution. If the cost of the replacing DAO is what is 100 naira, calculate the monthly cost of replacing the DAO as they fail. That is the first one. He said, well, the second one, determine if target will be able to buy a gown worth 8,000 naira for the money she is expecting from their relative. And that is the first question, which is 6A. In 6B, the table below show the marks score on continuing techniques in business by some candidate who wrote the ICANN professional examination in May 2016 diet. You are expected to what? To calculate if the mean mark is 41.7%. Calculate the mode and Pearson coefficient of skewness. So this particular question is trying to test candidate based on some certain area. The first one here, which is question number 6, is trying to test candidate on what we call application of replacement theory. Application of replacement what theory? Application of replacement what theory? Application of replacement theory, and also look using the word the mathematical expectation. So that is what for this question number 6A. In this question number 6B, is trying to teach candidate or test candidate on what we call a Pearson coefficient of skewness. So this one, question number 6, is testing candidate on two topics. The first one is that it's testing candidate understanding of application of replacement theory, mathematical expectation, and in 6B, that is what they call calculation of Pearson coefficient of skewness. So that is that for the question number 6. So on this note, we're likely I'll be putting end to this particular live class. My candid advice is that you should look at those tips that we use in the word before that we use at the beginning of the word of the question. So let me quickly give you again. Let me give you another that tips that we use in the word at the beginning let me give you and introduce it to you again, so that you're able to know those things you need to get in mind before attempting what. So I said, I already introduced what we call 8 tips to pass quantitative techniques in business. The first tip is that you should register and download the latest version of a comprehensive video lecture, which is the first tip that you're supposed to know. Or you get the what we call a latest version. Get an old version. Get the latest version of comprehensive video lecture, so that you can be updated on what, or on a new development under the word the quantitative techniques in business. Secondly, second tip is that you should watch our video lecture for each course for at least 2 times before going to the examination. The third one is that you should attempt question practice both in the ICANN past question from the word from 2014 up to date, and also look at our question and solution in the membership area, so that you're able to have more knowledge on a familiar on a repeated question on the ICANN question and solution. Lastly, you look at question number 4. You should post any of your challenging question on our forum to other students and the lecturer to attend to it. Lastly is that you should make sure that you get yourself familiar with some topic under the business quantitative techniques in business area, of which topic mathematics is very, very important. Both the basic mathematics and other upgraded mathematics. Look at the data collection analysis. Go and notice on it. Look at the statistics. Look at the operational research. So next tip is that you should practice all questions that relate to some topic. What topic? Review of basic mathematics, equality and inequality, mathematics of business, finance, element of calculus, data collection, measures of central tendency, measure of dispersion, probability, forecasting, linear programming, transportation model, replacement theory, inventory control, simulation, queuing model, and network analysis. Once you are able to do that, then move to question number 7. You practice past question straight after finish with a particular topic. Then move to question tip 8, examination techniques, which is serve as one of the vital one. Firstly, be time conscious. Secondly, you answer the question as not the question you wanted to ask. And thirdly, let your writing to be legible and clear, and write what concise, or just a short note. Don't write what a story. So that's that for that. So on this note, I wish you all the best and success in your examination. Thank you.